There are moments in a NASCAR season where a single entry list tells a bigger story than 100 press releases ever could. The Pocono Raceway entry list for the Miller Tech Battery 250 dropped this week, and within minutes, NASCAR social media had already caught fire. Fans scanning the number 88 JR Motorsports Chevrolet saw a name they did not expect, William Byron. And the name they did expect, the name that had been associated with that car all season long, was nowhere to be found. Kyle Larson was gone. No crash. No penalty. No press conference. No quiet statement from a team spokesperson. Just an absence where a presence used to be. And immediately, the theories started flying. Was Larson injured? Was there a conflict inside Hendrick Motorsports? Had something gone wrong behind closed doors that nobody was talking about? The speculation moved fast, the way it always does when something high-profile and unexplained drops into the NASCAR news cycle. But here is the thing about this story. The real answer is not dramatic. It is not a scandal, and it is not a cover-up. The real answer is far more interesting than any of that, because it tells you something genuine about what NASCAR has quietly become in 2026. To understand why Larson is not at Pocono, you have to go back to the very beginning of this season. In January of 2026, JR Motorsports announced a roster plan for their number 88 Chevrolet that raised eyebrows across the garage. The previous occupant of that seat, Connor Zilisch, had graduated to the NASCAR Cup Series after winning 10 races and earning a championship 4 berth in 2025. The seat was open, and the obvious solution would have been to simply name a full-time replacement and move forward. Jerem did not do that. Instead, they built something that the O'Reilly Auto Parts Xfinity Series had not quite seen before. Raja Karath, a 23-year-old driver out of Washington, D.C., would serve as the primary pilot for the number 88, running 23 of the 33 races on the schedule. The remaining 10 races, however, would be divided among 4 Cup Series drivers, all from Hendrick Motorsports. Kyle Larson received 3 starts. William Byron received 3 starts. Alex Bowman received 2. Chase Elliott received 2. 10 races, 4 different Cup-level stars. 1 car. A rotating seat at the upper echelon of the second-tier series, backed by the full infrastructure of one of NASCAR's most powerful organizations, with HendrickCars.com serving as the primary sponsor across the arrangement. Crew chief Marty Lindley, who had guided Zilisch through that historic 2025 season, would lead the technical operation throughout the year. The organization framed the partnership in terms of relationships and continuity. All 4 Hendrick Motorsports drivers had prior history with JR. The arrangement was positioned as a natural extension of a long-standing partnership between JR Motorsports, Hendrick Motorsports, and the HendrickCars.com brand. From a business perspective, it made sense. From a competitive standpoint, it was ambitious. And from a storytelling standpoint, it was always going to create moments exactly like the one we are watching unfold right now at Pocono. You cannot fully grasp why Larson's absence from Pocono feels so jarring without first understanding what he did every single time he climbed into that number 88 car. His first start came at Las Vegas Motor Speedway in March. Larson won. It was not a fortunate or lucky win. It was a commanding, controlled, wire-to-wire performance that reminded everyone watching exactly why he is considered among the 2 or 3 most gifted pure racers on the planet right now. When Kyle Larson is locked in any car, on any track, the outcome tends to look inevitable. Then came Bristol Motor Speedway. A 4th-place finish. Precise, composed, exactly the kind of short-track performance you would expect from a driver who has spent a career mastering that style of racing. Then came a detour. Alex Bowman was sidelined ahead of the Darlington Raceway race in March, dealing with vertigo. The rotation was adjusted on short notice. Larson stepped in. Another 4th-place finish, this time at a track he was not originally scheduled to run. An extra start added to the calendar with minimal preparation time, and he delivered without breaking a sweat. Then came Texas Motor Speedway in May. Larson won again. Back-to-back victories in the series, separated by a few weeks and several hundred miles, delivered with the same clinical efficiency that had defined his Las Vegas run. Dominant, composed, unhurried. Then Nashville Superspeedway. Bowman was back in Cup action by that point, but circumstances brought Larson in again for a second unscheduled start. He finished 8th, 5 total starts. 2 wins, 4 top 5 finishes out of 5 appearances. Every time Kyle Larson showed up in that number 88, he was not just a participant. He was a factor. So when his name disappeared from the Pocono list, the internet reacted the way it always does when high-profile information is missing. It filled the vacuum with assumptions. And the assumptions leaned hard toward conflict. The actual answer is this. Larson's 3 originally scheduled starts, Las Vegas, Bristol, and Texas, have been completed. The 2 additional appearances at Darlington and Nashville were unplanned extensions of a rotation that was already clearly defined. Pocono was never his race. It was William Byron's race from the moment the 2026 schedule was structured back in January. Byron's 3 assigned starts within the rotation were Phoenix Raceway, Kansas Speedway, and Pocono Raceway, in that order. He ran Phoenix, where he finished 13th. He ran Kansas, where he finished 6th. Pocono is the 3rd and final stop on his scheduled portion of the rotation. The seat was committed. The contract was honored. The plan is playing out exactly as designed. Larson is not absent from Pocono because of a performance issue. He is not absent because of tension inside Hendrick Motorsports. He is not absent because of anything that happened at Nashville or Dallas or anywhere else. He is absent because the rotation reached the William Byron portion of its calendar, and the plan is being followed. This is a scheduling reality being interpreted through a lens conditioned to expect scandal. And the gap between those 2 things, between what is actually happening and what people assume must be happening, is exactly where all of the noise is coming from. The fan reaction to this situation, though, is worth sitting with for a moment, because it reveals something real about how NASCAR audiences are engaging with this new model. Within hours of the entry list being published, the conversation had already split into distinct camps. On one side, the argument went something like this. Why would you bench someone who has been that dominant? Larson has won 2 of his 5 starts in this car. The man has been on fire all season. Putting Byron in at Pocono and pulling Larson feels like the wrong call, even if it was always the plan. Hot hands matter. Momentum matters. On the other side, the counter-argument was equally clear. The whole point of this rotation was always the rotation. Larson had his 3 starts. Byron earned his 3 starts. The deal was announced in January and everyone knew how it worked. If you want to be upset at something, be upset at the structure, not at the fact that the structure is being honored. Both camps have a legitimate point, and the tension between them is actually the most interesting part of this entire situation. It captures the fundamental friction embedded in this model, the gap between who might be the optimal choice for any given race and who is contractually scheduled to be in the car. That friction was always going to produce moments like this one. Pocono just happened to be the race where Larson's absence became visible and public enough to generate real conversation. Before we go any further, it is worth being direct about something. The framing that positions William Byron's presence at Pocono as some kind of consolation prize, as though he is the backup plan or the second choice, is flat out wrong when you look at his actual record. Byron is the 2017 NASCAR Xfinity Series champion. He is the reigning 2-time Daytona 500 champion. He is a cornerstone of Hendrick Motorsports who has spent the last several years building one of the most consistent and dependable track records in the Cup Series garage. Labeling him a fallback option by comparison to Larson ignores the career he has built. His numbers in the number 88 across 2 starts this season, 13th at Phoenix and 6th at Kansas, show a driver who has been finding his rhythm with the equipment and building toward his Pocono appearance. The Kansas run, in particular, carried genuine pace when it mattered during the final stage. Byron has also raced at Pocono in this series before. He knows the track. He knows Marty Lindley. He knows the machinery and the team culture around the number 88 program. His comfort level walking into Saturday is not that of a stranger. It is the comfort level of a driver who has done his homework and has something to prove. He described Pocono as a track that demands balance above everything else. 3 completely different corner configurations, each requiring a different compromise in the car's setup, and the driver who can carry speed through all 3 without burning through the tire compound over a long run tends to be the driver still standing at the end. That is exactly the kind of measured, strategic racing that Byron's career suggests he is capable of delivering. It is also worth stepping back and looking at the broader JR Motorsports picture entering Pocono. Because the organization as a whole is running at an exceptionally high level right now. The number 88 has been to victory lane with Larson at the wheel. The number 1 car has visited victory lane as well, with Connor Daly delivering a win earlier this season. The number 9 was just in victory lane at Charlotte Motor Speedway, with Ross Chastain driving that entry to a victory at one of the most pressure-packed events on the calendar. As a multi-car organization, JRM is performing at peak capacity. Byron is walking into that environment with real organizational momentum behind him. That context matters when assessing what Pocono could look like on Saturday. Now here is the angle that most of the coverage around this Larson situation has overlooked entirely, and it may actually be the most important thread running through everything. Ross Chastain is currently sitting 13th in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series driver standings. He is below the playoff cut line by 12 points. 12 points. With the number of races remaining before the cutoff, every single start carries enormous weight. The number 88 entry sits second in the owner point standings. That means getting into that car during the 9-race postseason would be extraordinarily valuable for whoever is driving it. Chastain himself has spoken plainly about his belief in his ability to compete for a championship given the right opportunity. He has expressed confidence that there is no reason the number 88 in the playoffs could not be a championship-level contender. But here is the quiet tension inside this model. Every time a Cup Series driver rotates in and takes a featured start in the number 88, Chastain's narrative momentum effectively resets. He splits his time between the number 88 and the number 32 Jordan Anderson Racing Chevrolet depending on the week's assignment. That means constantly adjusting to different machinery, different pit crews, different debriefs, different communication styles, different rhythms. He is never in a position to simply settle into one environment and build towards something over consecutive weeks. Crew chief Marty Lindley acknowledged this dynamic honestly when the season began. The stated goal was clear: do not lose the races with Cup drivers in them, but the bigger ambition was to get Ross Chastain into victory lane. That is an honest articulation of dual objectives. But dual objectives create inherent tension, and the driver the arrangement is ostensibly designed to develop sometimes gets pushed aside at the exact moments when uninterrupted consistency would serve him best. The model is working on the owner point side. The number 88 is near the top of the standings. But the human cost of that success, the toll it takes on Chastain's ability to find real rhythm and momentum in a playoff run, is the question that sits quietly underneath all the celebration. Looking ahead, the rotation picture has become considerably clearer. After Pocono, only one Hendrick Motorsports Cup driver remains on the schedule. Chase Elliott is slated to make 2 more appearances in the number 88, with Chicagoland Speedway on July 4th and Indianapolis Motor Speedway on July 20th serving as his assigned races. After Indianapolis, Raja Karath is scheduled to take over the number 88 for the balance of the 2026 season, including the full 9-race playoff structure beginning at Darlington in September. That is the plan as it currently stands. But this season has already demonstrated that the plan bends when circumstances demand. Larson made 2 unscheduled starts, Darlington when Bowman's vertigo forced an adjustment, Nashville as a second fill-in. The rotation already flexed twice before we even got to Pocono. Whether it bends again between now and the playoffs, and under what circumstances, remains an open question. What is not open is Karath's situation on the points bubble. 12 points outside the cut line, 3 of the next 4 races scheduled in the number 88 after Pocono before the Elliott appearances in July. That stretch of racing may very well define whether Karath enters the postseason with a legitimate shot at a championship or watches it from the outside looking in. When you step back and look at the full picture, the headline, Kyle Larson replaced at Pocono, does not come close to capturing what is actually happening here. The story is not about Larson being pushed out of anything. The story is about a model of roster construction that NASCAR has not quite seen before. Cup-level talent cycling through a lower series car on a structured rotation, deliberately blurring the line between development program and performance showcase, between star power and long-term investment. There is a genuine argument to be made that having elite Cup talent show up in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series elevates the competition for everyone. The wins Larson delivered at Las Vegas and Texas were real, exciting, high-quality racing. Byron's opportunity at Pocono this Saturday could produce the same. When the biggest names in the sport show up in lower series equipment and have to earn their result, it is genuinely compelling television. But there is a harder question sitting underneath all of that. Does this model, however well-intentioned and strategically sound from a business standpoint, place a quiet ceiling on the drivers it claims to be developing? Karif is talented. He is committed. By every account inside the organization, he is coachable, dedicated, and relentlessly focused on improving. Lindley has spoken about his work ethic directly and without qualification. But commitment and talent only carry a driver so far when the car he is supposed to be building momentum in keeps rotating out from under him at critical moments in a season. That question, whether this hybrid model is truly serving the sport's future or quietly limiting the drivers it is meant to elevate, is not one that Pocono on Saturday will answer. It is a question that will take the rest of the 2026 season to fully unfold.